Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Well, happy Friday. Thanks for joining us here for the news on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley, joined with meteorologist Dylan Smith as we get ready for the weekend. A lot of parts of the state, north, middle Georgia specifically, looking at a pretty wild weekend with a severe winter storm moving in. But Dylan, here on the coast, it's honestly a beautiful day.
Yeah, it's really not looking too bad, and really not going to be a good weekend for anybody who's trying to travel farther north, but I'm thinking we're going to be okay here. Let's go ahead and take a look outside right now. You're looking at the Talmadge Bridge. Traffic is flowing smoothly. Temperatures warming into the 60s across the area now. We'll still look for 70s as we head into the rest of today. That cloud cover going to be lingering around, but the temperatures stay warmer, and we could have a few isolated showers late afternoon. Really not going to look for a lot out of that, though. And still, here's a closer look at those high temperatures. Let me make sure my graphics are working. They seem to want to be having a little bit of issues right now, and I'm not sure why. I'll be honest with you, Jude. We might have to come back to me in just a few minutes.
Not a problem. We can.
Yep.
All right. That's okay, because we do have a lot of other stories we're following. Dylan will join us here momentarily. We do want to talk to you about a developing story out of the Low Country that we've been following throughout the day. As the Hardeeville Police Department and SLED are investigating a shooting that happened early this morning that left an officer and a suspect hospitalized. Here is some video of that scene. It all happened around 4:30 this morning near Exit 5 by the Shell gas station. The incident happened during an active law enforcement response. Both the officer and the suspect were taken to a local hospital. We did hear that the officer is in stable condition. No word yet on the suspect. The scene is secure, but it is still very much an active scene. Police are asking folks to avoid the area. They were still on scene as of about 40 minutes ago. We're clicking through some of the footage that we got this morning. A lot of the gas stations still taped off. Our Aaron Dixon's out there right now. He joined us earlier, but he will have more updates. He's trying to talk to some law enforcement and potentially some witnesses as well as we try to really figure out some of the remaining unanswered questions about this. And staying on the crime watch, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations has now identified the man who was shot and killed by officers during a shooting at Savannah's Plant Riverside yesterday afternoon. Mark Dennis Wibby Jr. was killed yesterday. Agents say Wibby was 27 years old and from Seabrook in Beaufort County. The GBI says after Wibby refused to put his gun down, Savannah Police Department officers shot him. No officers were injured. Around 1:30 yesterday afternoon, SPD responded to a 911 call that Wibby was waving a firearm outside a business on West Congress Street. Officers made contact with Wibby and ordered him to drop the gun. Wibby refused, according to officers, and continued walking north on MLK Jr. Drive toward the Riverwalk area. Police got Wibby isolated in one of those expanded Riverwalk sections. You can see that video right now. They say that Wibby began pacing and refusing to comply with commands and began walking toward people passing by and waving his gun with his right hand. Police say that he then reached behind his back with his left hand toward an object in his rear waistband. 5 Savannah Police Department officers fired at Wibby, hitting him multiple times. Medical aid was given, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, we spoke with the general manager at Poe's Tavern who saw all of this play out.
As the guy leaves the parking lot, 2 of the cops pursue him. One releases his taser on him, and they're trying to, I guess, reason with him, but you can clearly see that he has a handgun in his hand as he's walking away on our camera footage.
Now, police had the area shut down for a little more than 2 hours. Our crews then saw the GBI on scene collecting evidence. The GBI says this was an isolated incident and there's no threat to the public. The body was taken to the GBI Pooler Medical Examiner's office for an autopsy. Well, Savannah police are investigating a shooting that left 2 people injured outside of a grocery store. Police say it happened at Capitol Grocery near the intersection of Pennsylvania Avenue and Capitol Street. When WTOC arrived at the scene, we saw a very large area in front of the store taped off as a crime scene. Police say the injured men were taken to the hospital. We are working to learn more about their condition. Actually, we just have something into our newsroom from Savannah Police regarding an update specifically about this shooting. Came into our newsroom 11:07. I'm just going to go ahead and read this real quick since we were talking about this story. The Savannah Police Department is investigating a shooting on Capitol Street that left one adult male deceased and another with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. We have now just confirmed that one man was killed in this grocery store shooting. Savannah police say that they arrived on the scene around 4:10 and found one male victim suffering from gunshot wounds. There were life-saving measures performed, and he was taken to a hospital where he ultimately died from his injuries. Police say an additional victim believed to be connected to the incident later came to the hospital for treatment. They say after a preliminary investigation, officers believe both the victims shot each other during an altercation. They say the investigation is ongoing. Again, breaking news. To sum that up, we have now confirmed one man was killed, another injured during what police are calling an altercation at a grocery store in Savannah yesterday afternoon. We were showing you some scene footage from that investigation yesterday. All right, we'll take a look at this. Officials at Fort Stewart and Georgia Southern University say an Army Chinook helicopter made an emergency landing on the Georgia Southern Armstrong campus last night. No injuries were reported, and our crews were there and saw the helicopter take off for a short time later. I was the crew on scene. It was really interesting seeing it fly above the dorms and off the campus. The investigation into what happened is ongoing. This is also just into our newsroom regarding the shooting near the Plant Riverside district yesterday that left that man dead. We talked about this moments ago. Reading from our newsroom's communications channel, WTOC has confirmed that all 5 SPD officers who fired at Wibby are on administrative leave, according to Savannah Police Department. They also say that is standard procedure according to SPD's use of force policy. We're going to turn now to state news, as 2 Republicans running for Georgia governor are now openly clashing, and the clash is putting the 2020 election back into the spotlight after the Secretary of State refused to testify before a Senate ethics panel. State House reporter Abby Kasoris has the story.
The man that lawmakers wanted to hear from the most didn't show. The Senate Ethics Committee met, but Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger did not attend. This fight is playing out inside the Republican Party as GOP leaders line up for the governor's race. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones is accusing Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger of failures in election oversight. It centers on Fulton County's admission that hundreds of thousands of ballot tabulator tapes from 2020 were not properly signed, a violation of state rules. Jones says the election should have never been certified. At the same time, State Senator Randy Robertson is pushing a resolution calling on Raffensperger to turn over Georgia's full voter roll to the Justice Department. Lawmakers say they wanted Raffensperger here to answer questions publicly.
We all work for the people, and we need to be able to answer to the people.
But in a letter to the committee chairman, Raffensperger told lawmakers Wednesday night he would not appear on Thursday. He explains the DOJ's request requires releasing sensitive voter information, including social security numbers and driver's license data, which he says is illegal under Georgia law.
I always do my job, always follow the Constitution. And if they want to play politics while they're in session, that's up to them. But at the end of the day, voters are going to look at who's actually working to protect them.
What happens next is still an open question. Lawmakers could compel Raffensperger to testify, or they could pursue a dispute with the courts. While the meeting is over, this clash between 2 gubernatorial hopefuls seems like it is not. At the state capitol, I'm Abby Kasoris.
All right, we do want to talk about your forecast. I just touched base with Dylan. We do apologize. Something's going on with our weather system right now. Major notes from him, though, are that this winter storm that we've been tracking here at WTOC Plus really going to hit middle and north Georgia here on the coast. Today's a beautiful day. You know, we're getting a mix of sun and clouds. It's the warmest day we've seen in quite some time. And looking at how the fronts are moving in based off of the latest forecasts that we've been tracking, the biggest risk of anything that we have specifically on the coast is some potential freezing rain Saturday night and Sunday night, but that would be the worst of it we'd get, and even that freezing rain is potentially up in the air. Most of what the state's going to see, again, is in middle and north Georgia, that section of I-20, anything north of that is expected to get it the hardest. South Carolina also could see a lot of freezing rain and potential ice on the roads as well, but specifically here on the coast, not nearly the level of impacts as other parts of the state. But we do still want to talk about this news as Governor Brian Kemp has placed the entire state of Georgia under a state of emergency. The state's Emergency Management Center opens tomorrow afternoon and will stay open through the worst of the storm. We should also note that 500 National Guard troops have now also been activated, and county leaders across the state are finalizing preparations for the weekend ahead. That, of course, all starts with staying on top of the changing weather models and forecasts, as we've been doing right here at WTOC. It also includes prepping the roads and making sure plenty of emergency personnel are on call to make any rescues needed this weekend in Middle or North Georgia. Road preparations are one of the top priorities in those areas. Officials say with the rain that the area has seen, it's complicated when the transportation teams will be able to prep the roads. However, in DeKalb County, the director of public safety says no matter the weather, the roads will be treated.
Really, once we discovered that the storm was coming in, has had several meetings, one even today, just preparing for the storm. That includes our fire department, our police department, and our public works that are all getting ready for the storm.
Now, the University of Georgia is encouraging students to go home today after classes end, citing the potential for crippling conditions caused by the storm. University officials say they can anticipate campus being closed on Monday, and they will have updates for students and staff by Sunday afternoon. Well, we're going to continue with our stories here on WTOC Plus as we approach tax season, just a couple of days away. And we wanted to remind you about some common tax season scams. Officials say to be wary of scammers offering unusually high payouts. You know, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. You should also watch for threats or urgent demands to pay. Check for odd or misspelled websites. The official IRS site is irs.gov. Authorities say the IRS generally contacts people by mail first and only texts or emails with your permission. All right, here's a good story to round things out here. Rincon community members came together yesterday to help an 83-year-old woman return to her newly renovated home. That was after it suffered severe storm damage a little more than a year ago. Peggy Rouse's home was first damaged in September of 2024 when Hurricane Helene sent a tree crashing through her roof. The snowstorm last January and following rain continued wreaking havoc on her home, eventually making it unlivable. Shanna Smith with the Effingham Emergency Management Agency connected Miss Peggy with a family promise resource so she could have a safe place to live. And after learning about Miss Peggy's situation, many local businesses and community members came together to repair her home, a 7-month process that took donated time and resources to complete. Smith says that if Miss Peggy had never reached out for help, yesterday's welcome home wouldn't have been possible.
If you need help, ask, because you don't know until you ask, and you don't know who's going to be on the other end of that phone call and who can actually put things into place and make this happen.
The power of community right there. Something else. All right, and with that, we're going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. Thanks for making us part of your Friday morning. We'll be back in about 45 minutes for another round of stories and your forecast. I should also say I apologize we couldn't bring Dylan in. Our weather system is down. We can show you right now. Here's the 12-hour forecast. Again, beautiful day, a high of 69. Partly cloudy. It'll be a little bit more cloudy tomorrow, but again, we're talking a lot here about the incoming winter storm that'll impact Middle Georgia and North Georgia. Our areas should mostly be in the clear outside of potential freezing rain. I want to reiterate one of the reasons we continue to broadcast this is for any of our viewers who have family or friends in Middle North Georgia. We just want to make sure that everyone's prepared because other parts of the state will certainly be hit fairly rough in the coming days, as again, Georgia is under a state of emergency. For the latest updates, you can always check our website at WTOC.com. We'd like to thank you all for watching, and here's Local News Live.